Alrighty, and we got Amazon PPC expert Ryan Logan here. And how do I choose a PPC budget, Ryan? Let's say I'm a beginner client. Let's just say I am launching my private label product, just a single product. Where do I start? What do I put in as that daily budget?
That's a great question. Am I managing it or are you managing it?
Ah, um, yeah, right. Let's say I'm managing
Yep.
it, right? I'm trying to learn.
All right. So you are managing it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just like asking you as a friend, like, what do I do? I'm going to be managing my own thing. How do I determine what's my initial budget?
There you go. So a lot of this is very specific to an individual, right? What can they invest versus what can they not? The hard part with advertising, and this is where you get two sides of the extreme when you work with someone who's brand new to Amazon, right? I'm sure you've seen this as well, Riley. They go, you need to spend money to make money, so they throw every single dollar bill they have at it, and they're like, well, that was my $5,000 credit card, and now I only made 10 sales, right? We've seen that. And then you have the other people who are like, okay, I'm going to spend $2 a day, $5 a day. And it's like they're making actually about the same amount of sales sometimes, right? As the people who spend sometimes a 5,000 right away, just throwing it at the wall. And the people who are just, they're barely trickling any funds directly to their PPC. So for the people who are watching this, who tend to be on one side of the spectrum or the other, you want to lean towards the opposite of what you are feeling. Okay, that's going to be kind of a general consideration. If you are like, I'm going to throw every dollar bill that I have at it, hold off. Try to get closer to the conservative side, and if you're very conservative, try to get more to the being willing to spend more. It's a pretty good rule of thumb in business and in this type of thing to be aware of your faults and try to steer in the middle of where that is, right? So
Yeah.
with that being said, you really don't have a huge business on Amazon. If you're trying to actually grow and rank your product and actually get to the top, you really should be spending roughly $50 a day at first. Now, I
Yeah.
say that, like I said, with a grain of salt. For the people who are on one end versus the other one, they're like, well, you say 50, Ryan, I'm going to spend 100. It's like, good for you. Obviously, using the targeting ads and doing your due diligence prior, because if you have your PPC campaign set up and you have your keywords ready and you're like, my product fits these terms, and you start advertising to those and your product isn't converting, it actually shows you that something is disconnecting between the audience and the product, and you're trying to fix that gap so that you're not just constantly doing wasted ad spend, right? And
Yeah.
on the other end, if you are having conversions and you're trickling budget, start spending more. Like
Yeah.
seriously, spend some more because you're making sales. Amazon loves the momentum and they will work with you. It gets really weird as far as payouts, and that is maybe a different conversation. Maybe we don't want to
Yeah.
go down
So to,
payouts
to
as a rabbit hole.
summarize, to summarize so far, $50 a day is normally what we say to clients, 50 to $100 a day,
Yep,
depending on how aggressive do you want to go, sir? What's your
that's
budget?
it.
What's your cash flow situation? How much inventory do you want to have? How aggressive are you feeling? How serious and all in right now are you?
That's right.
Right?
That's
It's
right.
it's basically how fast do you want to gather data, because
Yeah.
if you're managing yourself, you're going to be looking at the data every week and then making adjustments what makes sense. If that $50 a day is going out and you're not doing good stats, okay, you're going to adjust the keywords, you're going to adjust everything. If it's getting good stats, you're going to up it up. And it also depends, huge other thing, the competitiveness of your categories press slash product
Yo,
niche slash keyword
yes,
competitiveness, because if it's
absolutely.
super competitive, the cost per clicks are going to be higher. You're going to have to pay Amazon more to get visibility. If you're in a really small niche, maybe you can start with $20 a day. And so it's up to you. Use that big old brain up there, and you can start it at $20 a day for a few days, and then go to 30, and then go to 40, and then go to 50 for a few days. You could do that if you're comfortable with that. It's a lot of this is what you're comfortable with. The more budget you have in your campaign daily, the faster Amazon's going to get you those eyeballs, right? Which is going to get you that data back. So it's how fast you want to go in all these questions.
One of a slight warning that I will offer to again beginners, as most advanced users have through painful experience, they understand this process. Amazon will sometimes say, "Hey, we ran out of budget. How about you increase it to 150?" Right? Where it's like, "Hey, you had a $50 a day budget on something, and it says it ran out, and it says we recommend you increase that to 150 bucks." a beginner will often see that and say, Amazon thinks that I should spend 150. If Amazon says that I should do it, and the answer is be careful. If your campaigns are already not optimized, Amazon will spend your money without
Yeah.
regard to your
Yeah.
actual
Think
profit.
about it. They have an algorithm to get sellers to spend as much as possible. That's their goal,
Yep, their
right?
their
They
very
have a
first
monopoly on the
dominance.
market.
Yep.
They'll
Amazon's system is naturally tailored to direct ad spend to clicks. Okay. It is
clicks, yeah.
naturally meant to go towards where the interest is, because they believe that if there's enough interest in a search term, eventually that leads to conversions, right? It's actually a natural flow and progression as far as how their ad system works. So a lot of people are like, well, Amazon is trying to spend on it. It's like, yes, but the system, especially when you start, it's trying to get you as many clicks as possible so they can find out what converts. And so when Amazon says, hey, we think you should raise it to 150 bucks a day, it's like, yeah, it's because they can absolutely get you clicks. They
Yeah.
100% can. We don't know if they convert to conversions yet, like to orders. And so be a little bit more patient and hesitant until you start really realizing, okay, this specific search term, if that's in my campaign, I will absolutely raise that bid or
Yep.
raise that budget.
So make sure you, to summarize, make sure you are checking your conversion rate, right? And 10% or
Yep.
above conversion rate. 10% is average for a PPC ad. In order
Mhm.
to be normally on top half of page one, for most categories, you're looking at 20% total conversion rate. Okay, so that's kind of rule of thumb there. Make sure your listing, of course, is retail ready, looks great. All right. If you're doing a launch, see all of our launch videos about having a launch discount price, right? Because you're going to have low reviews, right? So your conversion rate's not going to be as good as your competitor. So you're going to need to do some discounts to get that conversion rate up and spend more. Okay. And then also in terms of this daily budget thing, has to do with how many products you're advertising as well. So we're talking here about just one product. Normally, if you have
Yep.
two, you might want to double that if you want to fully launch both products. Let's say you have 10 or you have a suite of dozens. Normally the 80-20 rule comes into play. So it's 20% of your products are going to be the ones you're going to want to focus on. So put 80% of your budget behind those 20% that are your top sellers.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. Any other
Very
tips
good.
before we get on to the next one about budget, or is that pretty much it?
No, I think that's pretty much it in regards to budget. Well, a few other cautions: budgets in regard to phrase match, exact match, and also broad match, right? And auto campaigns. So the different type of campaigns, like I mentioned earlier, they're meant to direct towards clicks. And so in our other videos, we've talked about what is an exact match, what is a phrase match, what is a broad match. And if you've understood how those matching systems work within Amazon's advertising console, you can also understand this next warning, that is, be careful about the budget that you use in regards to those different types of ad targeting types.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can
Right.
get
Because
granular inside there.
you can, and sometimes the system can run away with a phrase match or a broad match really easy, or an automatic campaign, because it's running through two groups that are kind of specific and two groups that are very broad, and actually they're complements to your category. They're not necessarily even your exact category. And so Amazon, if you're not careful, really can run away with spend. And so this isn't meant to cause fear, but just cautions. Be aware. We usually don't recommend that you check in like every single day, get really aggressive about what's going on. But maybe during the first few days of launch, when you first start an ad, we actually usually do, just to see how the spend is going, not necessarily to go in and jump it up or lower it down, but find out, like, is it doing what we want it to do? Or are we spending enough to get clicks and impressions and leading those to orders? Or is it just shotgunning it out everywhere and it's actually not hitting anything directly?
Gotcha.
So
And
those are
so
my recommendations. So
yep, that's the basics. Of course, you have Ryan's other videos, tutorials about setting up
yeah.
all the campaigns, and also his weekly optimization checklist guide and videos. So, all right, that's it for that one. See you guys in the next one.